to your connection with your brain through to the body. All right, so it's going to be quite a lot of small moves, small activations where you're thinking really about just focusing on more the kind of the bones and your skeleton and your joints, rather than going in for a big sort of muscle activation, worrying about strength, etc., etc. This is really trying to get back into the nitty-gritty of how you sit as a person, all right, after maybe a few weeks off or doing other things, etc. So let's focus on that brain to get it talking to the body. All right, so we'll start off with our feet in parallel. So have a little peek down there, just double check that you've got a kind of equal distance between the heel there and the front balls of the feet. Okay, so that's our first check. Then once you're feeling nice and secure under the soles of the feet, just go ahead and look out at the horizon. Okay, just that immediate first call of the head just to position itself directly above the shoulder girdle just helps a little bit with bringing everything else into order. So you're really looking at getting that sense of your imagining your knees directly over your ankles. So perhaps you feel like you've swayed forwards or backwards slightly. So just perhaps have a couple of sways forwards and backwards and just double check where you are with that. All righty. So you're looking to try and think about the hips, the hip bones there, just sitting directly over the knees and directly over the ankles. You're looking at the shoulder girdle, just resting directly over the hips. All right. So you just come to settle into that halfway house really between the front and back of your sway. And those shoulders directly over the hips. This is kind of an important part. We're going to come back to and tune into a little bit throughout the whole of this session. Those shoulders directly, or the shoulder girdle, I should say, directly over the ribs, the rib cage directly over the pelvis. That's kind of important, all right? So just pausing with the sways, let the head just rest and just breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth there, okay? So you're just trying to attempt to just settle your thoughts. And what I want you to do is you're just standing here and breathing. You're noticing the stack of that body. I want you to try and imagine as you're breathing in, you're not allowing the front of those ribs to lift. Okay, so as you're breathing in and inhaling, you're not sort of trying to tilt your back down towards your bottom. You're trying to think of this as those ribs like hula hoops stacked one above the other. And you're just, as you breathe in, just letting them float up towards the ceiling and just gently down again. No tilting forwards and backwards. Just making a bit more space in that area below the rib cage and above the pelvis. That's where we're finding the space, as I say, not by lifting the ribs to the front. Okay, so we call that our rib flaring. You start to flare the ribs, then you start to put those spine at the back of you slightly closer together. We're trying not to do that. You're imagining that lovely hula hoop stack, just lifting away from the pelvis below, making more space for the spine and then releasing. So once you've kind of got that visual nailed, go ahead and pop your right hand for me just up on top of the head, so it just rests on the crown of the head. And just notice and be aware, as I say, this awareness is important. Notice and be aware of that slight weight of the hand on your head, closing your eyes. Now go ahead and breathe in and imagine yourself growing into the palm of the hand. Again, finding that space below the rib cage, breathing in, and imagine, if you can, you're just slightly growing taller, finding that space and lifting into the crown of the head. Okay, so you're really attempting there to find that space. Now, doing it 2 or 3 times, the first time it kind of might mean very little. Just trying to help out there with Julia. So if you've lost me a moment there, don't worry. Just trying to help that admission. Okay, so you're trying to breathe in. Now go ahead and switch to the other hand. So you're going to pop your other hand. Okay, pop the other hand on the top of the head. And again, just because we are a little bit left and right, you've got things going on left, right, and the side of the body. So just see how it feels on this side. Again, breathing in, growing into that palm of the hand. Imagine yourself making that space, allowing the soft tissue between the vertebrae to just have a little tiny bit of a stretch. Okay, those intervertebral discs, just if you can, imagine them just slightly opening up towards this palm of the hand, and then go ahead and release the hand down by your side. Okay, so from here, we've just talked about that stacking of that rib cage like hula hoops, that lovely engagement we've got through our space, I should say, we've got through between the ribs and the pelvis. Let's now go and take the shoulders up towards the ears. Really lifting that shoulder girdle nice and high with the breath in, and exhale as you release the shoulders back down and hands down by your sides. Breath in, we're going to do 3 more. Exhale as you release those hands and then exhale down by your sides, and let that air go a little bit more quickly. So it's a big breath in and an exhale, just a huff out. Last 2, breathing in, try and release some of that tension. Exhale, and one more time, breathing in and exhale, just allowing the shoulders to release down. Okay, mimicking that movement, let's go ahead and take the arms out by the sides. You breathe in, almost imagining a big floating jellyfish there, movement by the side, and then release down to the sides. It's a floating movement. This time, let the shoulders again shrug up to the ears, lifting the arms and the shoulders, and then exhale as you release them down. So using a little bit more of that muscle area around the shoulder joint as you breathe in, exhale. Well done. And one more time. This time, hold the arms out high by your sides. Let the shoulders depress down and relax so they're away from the earlobes. And go ahead and reach those arms a little bit further to your left and right. Really reach through the fingertips. Can you feel perhaps more space happening in this abdomen area? Well done. Breathing here. Breathing in, but don't lift the shoulders, and then exhale and let the hands come back down by your sides. Feel the length perhaps down the side of the neck. One more time, breathing in. Lift the arms to the sides. Go ahead, also lift the shoulders. Shoulders up, 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 up. Well done. And then relax the shoulders, the arms stay where they are. Reach those arms side to side. Find space in the shoulder joint. Breath in. Grow through the crown of the head and exhale as you let those arms come back down with intention and space by your sides. One more time, breathing in, lift the arms to your sides, but let the shoulders stay low. Low with the shoulders, but arms are reaching out. Turn the palms towards me and soften your knees now down towards the toes. Okay, so you've got a bent knee. You've just kind of bent off that knee joint, but you've not leant forwards or backwards. Okay, now palms are facing forwards. We're going to just take these hands down, hug a tree, so imaginary tree in front of us, and think of the shoulder blades now, those wings behind you opening nice and broadly behind the shoulders, but don't bring the shoulders up. Okay, the elbows and our shoulders are low. Now tuck your chin into your throat space and start to imagine that C shape you've got at the back of you there. Okay, now perhaps we can add a little bit of a pelvic tilt, slightly bringing that belly button in towards the back of you to just get a little bit more C curve from the crown of the head down to the base of your coccyx. And we're going to now just roll slightly down towards these knees, keeping that nice C curve. So you're not looking to flatten off, you're not looking to bend and fold in half down to your toes, it's kind of halfway. Bring that belly button in, guys. That's now what's holding this C shape, that belly button in, and let the arms just hang. And then continue your journey down to your toes. So you're still getting that tummy button in. So you're not collapsing and trying to fold into the hip joint. There should be space in the hip joint there because you're pulling that tummy button in. And then you're going to slowly peel yourself back up, still using that tummy button area, not the hip flexors. It's the tummy controlling the lumbar spine as you bring yourself up into standing. Nice and slow, the legs straighten. And hey, presto, we're up into standing. Okay, arms down by your sides. Okay, we're going to do that a couple more times. Okay, so keep the shoulders low. This is important. Space. Arms lifting by your sides as a breath in. Well done. Turn palms forward. Exhale. Breathing in, as you bend the knees, you're going to exhale and hug a tree. So it's exhale and hug that tree. Bring the belly button in. Breathe in here. Tuck the tailbone under slightly more, tummy in. Exhale, roll down now. So you're now taking the hands towards the knees, belly still in with control, and then relax the arms down so they're nice and dangly to the toes. Breathe in and exhale and allow the fingers now tracking down even further towards your toes, but don't forget you've still got that belly in, making space at the front of the lovely pelvis there and the hip flexors, and dangle here for a moment. When you're ready, take a breath in. Exhale, belly in. Belly in is important. The control, the help of that lumbar spine as you restack, straightening the legs, look out to the horizon. And as I said, one more time, breath in, arms to the side. Let's see if we can exhale now and soften the knees and go straight into hug a tree with the exhale. Breathing in, a slight tilt of the pelvis, and exhale as you roll down those fingers towards your knees. Breathe in, exhale, let those hands just dangle, tummy in nice and tight. Breath in, And exhale, and don't worry too much if this breath in and out is just all over the shop. It doesn't really matter, but just finding that flow with control of the opening of the back and the spine. And then breathe in, exhale. If you can, that exhale just kind of helps you with the restack. But don't worry if it's all gone cock a hoot, that's not a problem. And up into standing. Well done. Okay, let's get those legs a little bit wider. We're having a bit of external rotation of the hips now, making some space at these hips. Pop your hands on your hips just so you can find these, well, we call them our hip bones. That's really the front of the pelvis, okay? Soften the knees out towards the toes. See how these knees and ankles feel, okay? And this lovely little plie squat. It's not really a squat, really. Hypothetically, a squat would be probably doing a bit more glute work. This is just kind of trying to mobilize a little bit around the hip joint. See how you feel here. Making a bit more space there for the pelvis, perhaps. And try not to kind of arch into that lower back. Yeah, we're trying not to get that little ducktail stance sticking out. You're thinking about that stacking again, the hula hoops of the ribs directly over the pelvis as you head up and down, almost in an elevator shaft, just mobilizing through the knees, a little bit of energy into the little toe, keeping those knees a little bit wider, and then pausing this time where you feel comfortable. Okay, so again, energy into the little toe, so it's not all just on those inner thighs. You've got an external part of the leg working too. All righty, pop the hands on the top of your thighs and bring yourself slightly forwards now. So a little bit of lean forwards for our cat-cow. So from here, we're going to just now have a little bit, look down towards the floor, maybe towards the belly button, and lift the whole of that back space towards the ceiling. So this is your cat stretch with a nice broad base. Then we're going to now let the belly push down towards the mat or the floor in front of you, and really now tilt that tailbone away from you and look up towards me or the horizon to the front. So you've now got that opposite to the C curve. Okay, so forwards, breathing in, exhale, lift. As I say, imagining that lovely back perhaps lifting towards the ceiling like a jellyfish, breathing and inflating, and then exhale as you flow down and stick your tailbone out and look forward, a bit of a stretch through the front of the spine, breathing in, lifting, and then lowering. We're going to kind of find our halfway house. So again, just feeling kind of comfortable. We've explored both ways. And we're going to have a little bit more movement now into this lower side area of your spine. So what I'm going to ask you to do is keep your knees kind of where they are, set in space, and your arms fairly straight. And I want you to take this left shoulder and just move this left shoulder forward. So it's almost coming towards where your chin was a moment ago, and then come back into center, and then take your right shoulder forwards. So these arms are fairly straight, the knees are set, and the thighs are kind of set too. Even the pelvis, it's not coming with you because I'm looking to try and get the area above the pelvis. Okay, so this lower, kind of this corset we talk about is just having a little bit of a stretch. Okay, maybe some movement through the neck and the head, that is fine, but it's really keeping that pelvis set. Our anchor, I always go back to this, having something to pull against. Okay, and then we're going to come through to center. And from here, we're going to very gently peel up out of this, how you feel comfortable, just peeling up and then walking those feet in and into center, popping the hands on the hips. As I say, we call these our hips. Our hip bones are really actually in here, but we call these our hips, okay, top of the pelvis. And this is going to help you just be aware of some pelvic tilts, some pelvic movements, sorry. Reason being, and we are coming onto the floor shortly, I want all this to make sense when we're on the floor and translate it into that. Okay, so keeping your shoulders where they are. I don't want them to move at all. I would like you thinking that you're static at the torso. I just want you to imagine now you're pulling your pubic bone here at the front towards your nose. Okay, so you're tilting the pelvis, trying to imagine your pubic bone was coming up to the nose, but nothing is moving in the top. We're not looking to meet it or help with the upper body. Now send the tailbone away. Feel and be aware of this movement. The pelvis is so important, not only because, of course, it transfers through to the spine. Okay, so anything we do through the spine, any impact, the energy dissipates through the pelvis. That is why it is there. So it takes some of that energy away, okay, to manage damage, okay, so, or risk. Okay, so we're also looking at trying to find this movement to identify what's going on in your lumbar spine, okay, guys? So as you tilt forwards and backwards, especially forwards, do you feel that opening of the lumbar spine? Okay, can you feel that it's getting a bit of a stretch because you're focusing on this section only? Okay, I just want you to do 2 more. finding that movement in the pelvis, isolating the pelvis and the lumbar spine, and we're going to completely come into neutral and take ourselves down onto the mat. All right, so guys, onto the mat for our first bit of lying down in supine work this morning. Okay, so if you do have a cushion handy, you brought one along, or there's something on a bit of soft furnishing near you, you can grab. You're more than welcome to pop it under your head if that's comfortable for you. But we won't put it under the back at the moment, just because I want us to transfer some of that work we've been doing standing up onto the mat and where we are in our bodies as we lie down, okay, because it's super important. Hands are down by your side. Again, that's also important. They're nice and relaxed by the side, but you're aware that they're kind of stabilizing you. They're in connection with the mat. All righty, and slightly even. We're going to look a lot this term in trying to find even energies either side of us, the left and right, okay, because we have that misalignment quite often all over the shop, all throughout the body. So we're going to try and listen to our bodies and notice some of these misalignments you might have. So hands are fairly even by your sides, shoulder blades are broad. What I'm going to ask you to do is bring your heels, toes, and knees together, okay? And we're just going to start off by, I'm going to get those hands actually slightly further out. Let's move them slightly wider, perhaps out to the side of your mat. Let's get them slightly out of the way. Be conscious that your knees are level. They're currently level, okay? And your shoulder blades are pinned onto the mat. I want you to just take those knees over towards your right. Thinking, if you can, that those kneecaps stay next door to each other. So you're inside, your left foot will probably lift slightly. And as your knees travel to the right, I want your left shoulder blade to stay down. That I want you to focus on. Imagine a weight, a bit of super glue, maybe sticking that left shoulder blade down as you come back through to center. Check out those kneecaps, so they're still together, and then go ahead towards your left. Again, that right kneecap is trying to stay very neighborly to the left. The knees are staying on top of each other, so the right foot will slightly lift. But again, let's find the anchoring in the shoulder blades. We're going to do it a few times, because by the time we focus on the knees, sometimes the the shoulder blade is kind of doing its own thing. So yeah, good stuff. Okay. And think about what's moving. Okay, so think about what's going on here. You've pinned down the shoulder blades. Yeah. We did a little bit of movement in that lower lumbar spine when we were standing with our twist and our plie squat in that lower corset area. We're kind of mimicking that movement now again, but we're just using maybe a little bit more spine and a little bit more pelvis here because it's coming with you. Okay. And then we're going to bring ourselves back to center this last time, bringing yourself knees towards the ceiling. And now go ahead and pop those hands back by your sides in parallel to your hips. There we are. Okay, so we're going to get you to walk those feet away from your bottom. Okay, so you're looking at really opening the angle at the back of the knee. And I want you to go into dorsiflexion, which means you're going to pull those toes up towards the ceiling. It's not a grab, it's just a lift. The lift of the toes towards the ceiling, because I'm more interested in the heels digging slightly into your mat. Okay. Now, wherever you've got there is your comfortable place. I want you to take your heels and I want you to walk them maybe another couple of inches away from you. Okay. A little bit further away. You might feel a slight pull, maybe a slight pulling on the hips with this thigh bone now at the hip joint. Maybe you feel a slight tug on the pelvis. The reason I'm doing this is because it's a little bit easier for us to get that neutral pelvis when we're like this than when the feet are up towards your bottom. Go back to our first visuals, the hula hoops in the ribs. Do you feel like you've got that rib cage flare? Can you maybe pull the ribs down as if they were going to shunt and meet the pelvis? Awareness of the space between the rib cage and the pelvis, that airy space, that soft tissue, is quite a lot of soft tissue there, not a lot of bony mass, but you've controlled it by bringing perhaps the belly in slightly towards the spine. You're controlling the pelvis. And I don't want you to dump into your lower spine. Okay, there's no imprint here. Do you remember the pelvic tilts we did? We're not looking to push the lower back into the mat. You're trying to find that lovely hula hoop fit onto the pelvis and control with the tummy muscles at the front. Now, we're going to just challenge this by popping your hands now onto your belly, underneath that kind of belly button area and above your pubic bones, in the soft bit of the belly, really below the belly button. Now, I want you to breathe in, and as you exhale, just lift your right heel about 5 centimeters off the floor. And can you feel the muscle response in the front of your belly there? The tummy muscles really kicking in, and place the heel back down. Breath in, pull down that rib cage, remember. Okay, you're using those guys as well, pulling down the rib cage to meet the pelvis as you exhale and heel float. Left, then right, single heel floats. And I want you to be noticing here that even though you've got that space in the lower back, okay, your natural S shape, perhaps more for some than others, your control really is here. The whole of this torso, this abdomen is kicking in. You've got your rectus abdominis, six pack down the front. You've got your obliques to the sides, transverse abdominis. Everything is pulling in to keep you stable. And there's no movement here, but you should feel those muscles working under the fingertips of your hands and your palm around the belly. Now pause here with those heels down. I'm going to get you now to bring those heels closer in towards your bottom. Okay, so your feet are flat. Now, remember the pelvic tilt we did, imagining that pelvis was just tilting so that the pubic bone was always trying to pull forwards to meet your nose or your tummy button. Let's go ahead and do that. So tilt the pelvis to the point where you press that lower spine now down into the mat. Maybe that's more comfortable for some of you, okay? Depends on your pelvis and how your back likes to sit. So we're going to feel like that you push down. We talk about sometimes this imaginary Malteser. Now, hands are still on the belly, okay? Shoulders are broad, neck is long. Now let's go ahead, hands on the belly button, and see now if you lift your right foot, how much do you feel your belly button working now, or that tummy muscle area? Okay. Now I'm gonna wager you don't feel as much of that muscle around the belly button area working, yeah? You've gone into pelvic tilt, you've extended the back of the spine, you've slightly drawn the front of the spine closer together. And we slightly deactivated these core muscles, okay? And I think probably you could do this all day, okay? So yes, we're in imprint, and yes, it's effective. Okay, it is useful for supporting the lower back. However, we're not really using the whole of the corset of our torso. So pause with both feet down, come back into a slight neutral. So you've now maybe lifted the lower spine slightly away from the base of your mat, okay? So you're thinking of maybe a little bit of space. Tummy's in, the rib cage isn't flaring, it's nice and sorted and organized. And go ahead and breathe in there and lift your right foot and place it back down. And go ahead and lift the left foot. Okay. So we're feeling nice and strong through the torso. We are aware of what that means when we go into single leg lift. We're going to now breathe in and gently lift and pause with one foot lifted. Okay. We're going to now extend that right, or whichever foot is lifted, and extend that right towards the end of the mat and reach that leg nice and long. Go ahead and feel that stretch. The thigh bone is stretching right out of the hip joint. Allow it to have a really nice big old stretch there. You can rest it on the floor if you want. I kind of like to hover it because it feels like that's where it would be naturally in the alignment of my hip, because I've got a lot of gluteal muscles underneath there. So I like to hover it and place that leg back. Still in neutral, breathing in and lifting your left heel slightly off the mat, checking that you've got control through the tummy, and stretch that left leg now, as if someone was kind of giving a little bit of a pull. Yeah, and enjoy that stretch all around the hip, the top of the thigh bone in the hip. Reach and stretch, and then go ahead and bring that leg back in. Okay, pop the hands down by your sides. And we are going to now gently allow ourselves to just tilt the pelvis so we are in imprint. Okay, so you've now tilted the pelvis, belly button pressing down. That imaginary Malteser is utterly squashed underneath the lower spine. And we still can bring that belly button in slightly. You've still got engagement of the core. Go ahead and lift your right knee into tabletop. So your knee is directly over the hip. And then your left leg is also going to go ahead and up into tabletop. Glue those guys together. And we're still thinking of that level above the kneecaps. I want you to shoulder blade press into the mat. Both shoulder blades are nice and glued in. Now go ahead and take those knees over towards the right. So again, shoulder blades are down. You're keeping knee on knee. Okay, so you're not allowing them to shunt out of alignment. The knees are one next door to the other, and then come back to center. And we're going the other way, over towards the left. So we're now taking this up slightly a level. If you do feel this is too much in the lower back, pop the feet back down, and you can go back to the stage one where we had just our feet down and knees are tracking side by side. It is harder to keep those shoulder blades down. It is harder to keep the knee by knee. Okay. Chances are Okay, if your knees and legs are heading all the way to the floor either side of you, just check in on those kneecaps. Have they really stayed together? Okay, or have you found that one is just shunted slightly, the top one's shunted back towards you? Okay, be mindful, be pedantic. Come back into the center this final time and pop those feet back down on the floor so they're flat. Heels are really snug up towards the bottom now. Okay, and we're going to head into our pelvic tilt. So you're going to lower that spine now so it's squashing down on the Malteser and you have a bit of a concave space perhaps at the front of the belly. We're going to continue a peel now of the bottom by lifting it off the floor. And I just want you to find the lower rib cage area. Okay, so you're really feeling that the back of the ribs are still very connected, and then peel back down. Okay, and into neutral. Let's go ahead and find neutral to start with our little space in the lower back. That's our neutral spine and natural S shape. Press down onto that Malteser, lift the hips and the bottom cheeks off the mat, press into the lower part of the rib cage. So the real base of the ribs, which is basically the base of our thoracic spine, T1, T2. Let's just allow that to just press into the mat as you lift the pelvis off. Next time the pelvis is clear, the bottom's off the mat, you got that space, you're feeling connected on the lower ribs, your shoulders are broad and wide. Now let's think of the ribs, those hula hoops. Thoracic spine, we're going to lift the base of the spine of the thoracic, that rib cage off the mat. That's our T1. We're going to peel off. We've got 12 of these guys. We're peeling off T1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're only heading up really to the back of the shoulder blades, folks. We're not looking to head up to the very top, okay? And then we're going to release back down. Down we go. Releasing down, down, down. You know, I've said that completely wrong. I'm just working obviously on my head in inversion. It's your T12 is the base. What am I talking about? Upside down. I'm sure you were shouting out at me there. You knew that. Okay, so the base of the thoracic spine, we're heading up, showing off fancy pants and getting it wrong. What am I doing? Okay, under your shoulder blades and then releasing back down. This next time we're going to head up onto the shoulder blades. We're going to pause. Okay, so head up onto your shoulder blades and you're going to think that you've got that kind of nice flat space, if you can, between, or a line, I should say, between the knees, through the hip joints to the base of these shoulder blades. And I want you to just think of the shoulder blades. Can you allow the weight to just rest even more into the shoulder blades? Imagine that you're actually pressing into the shoulder blades. And I want you to lower down a little bit of the way, only maybe an inch or so, just kind of a halfway down. Once you're here, tilt the pelvis again for me. Try and tilt the pelvis again. Imagine that first bit we did when we squashed the Malteser. Tilt again, even more, bring the pubic bone towards you. Now continue the journey down, 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 into your neutral. We're going to do that again. Press down into the lower spine, into the mat. Lift the bottom off the mat so you find that base of the thoracic spinal rib cage, T12, and then from there lift onto your shoulder blades. Find that lovely length between the kneecaps through the hips to the base of the shoulder blades. That's your line. Lowering halfway down and all the way into the shoulder blades. Just pause. Tuck the tailbone again. So that's that sense of pulling the tailbone towards your nose. So pelvic tilt even more, trying to get that lumbar spine open, and then release down, peeling down onto the mat. Let's low down, 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 and into neutral. Well done, guys. Okay, fantastic stuff. All right, we've been a little bit of a while there, so I appreciate the work you've done. Can you just go for it and pull your knees into your chest? Okay, just really grab those knees into the chest, and if you're a little bit of a rock and roll around that feels comfortable for you, just have a bit of a massage using the weight of your body on the mat, then go ahead, that is fine. Okay, however, really bring those knees in. This is an energy, bringing the knees in, but not by lifting your bum. Place the tailbone back down. Okay, make sure that hasn't come in with you. So the knees are being pulled in, but the tailbone's connected. Lift the head, neck, and shoulders so your nose is now pulling towards your knees, okay? But again, don't lift the tailbone. It is the nose to the knees. Okay, we're going to hold on to this position we've got here, all right? Trying to get that tummy button in, finding the tummy button pulling in, down onto the mat, pressing down into imprint. Take your left leg and reach that left leg towards the end of the mat, and just go ahead and hold the right knee and pull that in. Okay, reach that left leg along, just like we did in our initial opening stretch, okay? Belly down, this shouldn't be in the neck because this should be you're hanging onto the leg and your tummy is in. Bring that left knee back in towards you, recheck the belly's in, the tailbone is down, and then take the right leg and reach that right leg away. Pull the left knee in. Okay, we're going to go ahead and switch slightly more quickly. So bring the right knee in, switch the left leg out. Bring the left knee in, double knees in, and then switch one away. We're not going to go straight into single leg stretch. Hang out with both knees in, and then switch one leg away. Hang out with both knees in, switch one leg away. Hang out with both knees in, and then slowly release the head, neck, and shoulders down. You're still pulling on those legs in towards you. The tailbone is down. Let the neck have a rest. We're going to rest the neck in between each of these of the series of 5. Okay, it's been a little bit of a while, but we need to pull on the tummy to really work. Pull that tummy button in, bring the head, neck, and shoulders back up. We're going to head into double leg stretch. Tailbone is down. We're going to reach both legs away so they're long towards the end of the mat, and reach the fingertips also towards the end of the mat. You're going to almost feel that the legs are so heavy, it's almost like they're going to pull you up, okay? So that's how heavy your legs are. Bring the knees into your nose, breath in, and exhale, send those legs away. Okay, slightly out along towards the end of the mat. If that is too much and it's too deep for you down there, go ahead and take those legs slightly higher, guys. Okay, if you're feeling like it's too much, bring the knees in. As they do, the belly comes down, not by pulling the neck, by belly down. Extend the legs, shoulders are back. Okay, you're not going to have collarbones crunching up. You're not going to have your hands reaching towards the front. They're down and level with the mat. Last time we're doing this, our last time, and we're going to then hold those knees in towards you one more time. The tailbone is down. Let the head, neck, and shoulders rest. Okay, a little bit of a rest on the head, neck, and shoulders. We have one more piece here, okay, with our legs up in elevation. Okay, so what we're going to head now to do is a scissor preparation before we do the head up. Okay, hamstrings probably got a bit tight over the summer. Mine certainly have. I'm going to just take my right leg now and be a little bit forgiving as I extend my right leg towards the sky. The left knee stays in. Okay, guys, just let that left knee stay in. But you're conscious that the tailbone's down. And then just let it bend. We're going to concentrate on the one leg for a few extensions. Okay, so just keep repeating as you bend and straighten the one leg that you're holding on to. I don't mind which one it is. You're just going to bend the leg and extend the leg. Okay, if you want to get really fancy and you're feeling like you want to have a bit more of an effort, you can pause and you can maybe flex and point the toes at the ankle. Okay, that's kind of possibly quite full on, so it might not be for you yet today or this week. And then we're going to just pause there. Take both knees, just double check the tailbone's down. Haven't lifted the bum. Okay, and the other leg. Let's go ahead. Focus on your other leg, just bending and straightening. Oh, how does that one feel? Breathing in. So we're not necessarily looking to get a straight leg. You may be able to, and that's really great and lucky, and maybe you've done your homework over the summer and stretched your hamstrings. I don't know. Maybe you just have very long hammies, and that is great. But we're just going to think about just feeling that stretch without going too much into it this week. If you want to, as I say, you can pause with the leg lengthened and just do maybe 1 or 2 dorsiflexions, plantar flexions, which is basically a flex and a point of the ankle. If you're feeling it, if you're not, just hang out there for a moment, let that muscle stretch, and then both legs are bent. Okay, go ahead and hold behind those legs one more time. And we're going to bring the head, neck, and shoulders up. So you're into this little ball. Again, belly down, belly in, tailbone down. That's going to pin us, connecting this torso as our anchor. We're going to now just take one leg, okay, I don't mind which, and we're going to take it up into that extended position. We're now going to extend the other leg along the mat towards the end. We had that lovely stretch earlier on. We're going to head into scissors. So we're going to just breathe in, exhale, and switch. Breathe in, exhale, and switch. I don't mind where you're holding on. It might be behind the thigh for you. It might be that your leg just has to bend, and that is fine. You can still just go through this motion, but you're trying to get that leg a little bit straight. It may feel utterly hideous, okay? And we're just going to do a couple more. We're not going to try and pull this too much. And we've got our last one where you bend both knees into your chest, and again, head, neck, and shoulders down. Okay. All right, let's release the hands away from the knees, but they stay into your chest. Pop your hands behind the back of the head. So they're on the mat, but they're kind of interlaced behind the back of the head. And bring the shoulders down. Do you remember right at the beginning we were shoulder shrugging? Just release the shoulders down away from the ears. Our elbows are kind of out of sight like wings to the left and right. But I want you to press your head into the hands, okay? So you're going to feel a bit of an energy maybe through the torso as you counteract that. But press the energy in the back of the head into the hands, and then counteract that by pressing the hands into the head. So the two guys are pressing against each other, head into hands, hands into head. This is going to help your neck. Keep that kind of sense of pressing as you lift your head, neck, and shoulders. Okay, so this is now, i.e., what we're doing here is taking their weight and the shoulders, so the weight of the head into your shoulders, not your neck. Now, holding here, perhaps you can feel your tummy button helping you out. Your tummy button is slightly in. I hope you can. You are now in imprint. If awareness, there's any doubt, you're pressing on that mobiliser. Your head's pressing into your hands pressing into your head. Take those knees and slightly send them away into tabletop. Okay. Knees are going to stay together and glued as if you have a little pound coin between the inside edge of those knees. We're going to now simply twist and rotate and look towards the right side of your room and body. The pelvis stays perfectly still. The twist comes through the waist. Your left shoulder blade lifts. Come back to center, connect the head to the hands, hands to the head, tummy button down, breathe in. Now lift your right shoulder blade off the mat and look towards the left. Keep those knees glued on that pound coin. Breathe in and twist. Okay. I want you to think of your waist as a wet face cloth. You're trying to twist and wring out that water as you head from side to side. You're using the shoulder girdle. You're not trying to use the neck. Okay. You're not trying to use the hips. You're leading with the shoulder girdle, and the response will come through the twist and rotation of the spine, and it's connecting oblique muscles. Okay, as you twist, transverse abdominis, rectus abdominis coming in, all sorts going on. And we're going to come back through to center, place one foot down on the mat and then the other. Let the legs rest for a second, and then peel down the back of the rib cage, head, neck, and shoulders onto the mat. Pop your hands down by your sides. Guys, you're doing really well. This is seriously, I should have called this maybe less just move and more nitty gritty. So you're doing really well. Okay, from here, folks, in imprint, please take your right leg into tabletop, left leg into tabletop. And we're going to just think about that belly to spine, that lovely space you've got. Don't lose the space below the rib cage. Shoulders are away from your ears. Go ahead and lift the head, neck, and shoulders. Okay, and I want you to extend your right leg out towards the end of the mat, but not as low as before, and then join it with your left leg. We're going to head into the 100. We are going to start pumping the arms by our sides. If you're feeling like this is all just getting too much in the neck, okay, please just go ahead, keep the neck up, but maybe place the feet down just to take off a little bit of the weight. Okay, otherwise just reach with those legs. Do you remember that sense of perhaps almost like they're going to almost lift you off the floor because there's so much weight and power and length in those legs? We're pumping the arms and breathing in for 5 and out for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know you've got control of the torso. You've got that rib cage connection. You've got that lovely open hip area. We've got that belly button pulling in, just as we did with that broken down roll down right at the beginning. Belly pulling in as if it's just trying to press down on the mat. Last 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring those knees in. Well done. Fantastic. Okay. Go ahead and if you can, hold behind the thighs. Okay. So you're making your hands a bit of a sandwich between your calf muscles and your thighs. Pulling those knees in towards you. I also want you to proactively pull the thighs away from you. So you've got that resistance going on. Okay. So you're pulling your legs in with your hands, but your thighs are trying to desperately pull away. Okay. From here, tuck your chin into your throat space, and I want you to just keep that belly button pulling in, keep that thigh bone pulling away from you, and start to innovate a slight rock and roll, okay? This thigh bone pulling away from you is the thing that's going to think about pulling you into sitting. The thigh bones are desperately trying to think, can I make this roll so big that I get myself into a sitting position? And when you can get there, or however you want to get there, bring yourself into sitting. Ta-da! Well done. Okay, so folks, just go ahead from here. I want you to just pop your hands behind those sides again, and your feet are flat on the mat. Okay, so if you need to adjust yourself into the back, middle of the mat, then go ahead. Put the hands behind the back of the thighs. Again, feel the pull on the thighs, okay? And use that to grow tall. Really now find the space in the spine we've just worked so hard to mobilize, okay? So sitting nice and tall. Your shoulders should be directly over the hips, okay? So we're trying not to hang out here. We're thinking of being nice and tall. If you need to move the legs slightly away from, feet further away from you to get that, then go for it, indeed. Okay, so sitting tall, pelvic tilt. Remember, right when we started, we stood up, we kept our shoulders still, and we pelvic tilted. Let's go ahead and do that now. A slight little pelvic tilt. Nice. Okay. From there, we are going to gently bring the belly button in and start to think of the belly button pulling back. As it does so, it starts to allow or it makes the arms straight and you head slightly back behind you. Now go ahead and look down towards the belly button there. Okay, so you've got your C curve. Release the knees and pop the hands just above your kneecaps. We're going to try now to meander down onto the mat, okay, with control. We've really mobilized by doing our bridge work. Can you slowly peel down with control onto the mat? Yep. Down to the mat. Take the hands overhead, straighten the legs, and enjoy a full mat stretch. Reach through from the fingertips all the way to the toes. Okay, so from here, folks, bend the knees one more time to where you had them a moment ago. We're going to now bring the hands back overhead and see if we can grab hold of the back of the thighs. Now, this is never quite as easy as the way down. You're going to breathe in, and as you exhale, we're going to start to feel ourselves up. Okay, so breath in and exhale. As you attempt to roll yourself back up, maybe grabbing hold of your thighs or your leggings if you need to, and then sit nice and super tall. We're going to do that one more time. Find the space to the top of the head first, then a little bit of a pelvic tilt. Let's get that space at the front of the hip flexors. We're going to try and turn them off. We're then going to bring the belly button in, and that might mean that the arms start to straighten. Then we're going to tuck our our chin to our throat space. Let the hands go there above the kneecaps. We're going to slide down. Imagining I was holding your fingertips there in your room, and I was only going to let you down 1 millimeter at a time onto the floor. When you come down onto the floor, let's go ahead and full mat stretch. Enjoy that stretch, and then just gently bend the legs. So we're going to get ready for our roll up. We're going to take a lovely breath in, and as we exhale, bring the hands overhead, exhaling, feeling that energy as you peel yourself up as best you can and up and into sitting. Fantastic. Go ahead and extend those legs out to the end of the mat now so that they are straight. If you did find your hammies when we were doing our hamstring stretches were feeling a bit of a mare, you might find sitting like this is uncomfortable. You can either pop yourself on a cushion, you can put yourself on a block, or if it's just not for you today, go ahead and just pop your legs in a bit of a frog position. So you're just going to just find a little bit less tension in that lower back. Okay, so frog is fine. Okay, but we are going to just do our spine stretch forward. So arms out front. Now we're kind of doing what we've done backwards as a prep, but we're going to head forwards. So grow tall, just you had a moment ago when we were holding on behind the knees, grow nice and tall. And I just want you to pelvic tilt, okay? So it sometimes feels a bit weird when we're going forwards, but just pelvic tilt for me. So you've not done the shoulders, you've not done anything up here, you've just pelvic tilted as you've done a moment ago. Okay, the belly is in, so you're still creating that C curve. All righty, so that was our stage 2 before we roll back. However, this time, as we look down towards our belly button, we found our C curve. We're not rolling back towards the mat. We are going to just keep this C curve shape and head towards our toes or our noses towards our knees. You're still pulling that belly button in. And guess what? For those of you that are thinking about connections, this is kind of our roll down. This is where we were when we rolled down right at the beginning, okay? But now we're against the floor. It's a little bit more effective. And then we're going to roll back up. So you can do this standing against the wall, for example. This is another way of doing this, standing up, okay? Breathe in, grow nice and tall. First things first is that opening of the hip flexor and the lumbar spine, so a pelvic tilt. Then the belly comes in, just to feel like you're pressing that back out towards the back of the room there. Chin into your throat space, you've got the complete works right up to the top of the cervical spine under the skull, then rolling forwards. nose heading towards the knees, reaching the hands to the toes, not by taking the shoulders to your ears, that'd be cheating. It's by thinking about the spine, moving slightly closer, the nose to the knees, and then roll up and into sitting. Okay, so what I want you to do, all of us now, is just relax the arms. I'm going to turn this way so you can see me. We're all going to go with our frog's leg position. Okay, so take the legs on straight and just place the feet kind of slightly out in front to be fairly comfy-ish. Okay, so this is our frog leg position. I want you to make the best kind of visual I can go for here. It's kind of like a set of antlers. Okay, so you got a set of antlers by the side of your head. In fact, no, let's put them a bit closer. Thumbs here, hands towards the front. Okay, so we're going to head into a bit of a flat back. I want you to, because made space here, I want you to think of still through the crown, growing through the crown. Go ahead and try and lean forward slightly. Okay, so you're going to take it a bit of a lean forwards. Okay, this is why I've got the legs out of the way. A little bit of a lean forwards, but not by curling. It's just a hinge, hinging forwards. Okay, shoulder blades, lats, these guys. Imagine your shoulder blades are slightly pulling down your back. Okay, so they're nice and set. You're leaning forward, you're going to breathe in, and I want you to exhale and send those arms as if they're heading to that bit where the ceiling kind of meets the wall. Okay, so you've got that lean forwards, you've got a lovely flat back, and your arms are reaching, but your shoulder blades are pulling down. The belly is in, and you've still got space under the rib cage. Okay, then bring the hands back to your forehead into your antler position, and then draw yourself back up into your sit. Okay, so we're going to do this 3 more times. Breathe in, grow tall, shoulder blades are still engaged. You're leaning forwards. Okay, you're leaning here. Breathe in. Exhale, send those arms up towards that diagonal. Reach through the elbow joint, through the wrist joint, through the fingertips. The tummy is in. Try and relax through the legs, and then draw the hands back to your forehead, and then up into your upright sit position. How are we getting on? Breathe in. We've got 2 more. Exhale, coming forwards. Keep the shoulder blades down. Find that hinging. Yeah, well done. Send those arms forward. Complete that angle. Don't look up to the sky. Just look forwards for me, slightly to those toes for me, Julia. So the neck's in alignment. Good. Now then bring those hands back down to the forehead. And then hinging up. Lovely, Tess. Well done. Good. Well done. Breathe. Grow tall. Last one. Exhale, taking it forwards. Nice. Well done. Once you've got that hinge, just looking at the toes. Remember that neck, that cervical spine is still part of the spine. Okay, well done. Keeping that, it's almost like you're launching from the hips to that corner of the room. Bring those hands back to your temples, and then bring yourself back out of your hinge. Fabulous. Okay, let's just take the frog's legs now and place them out slightly further away from you. They're kind of hip width, but they are bent, and the hands are behind you. Take your fingertips and face them to the side. This week, just to the side, and I'll be a bit easier on you, a bit more forgiving. Okay. Okay, we are going to, we've done lots of nice work on the back body. We're just going to try and think about maybe opening a little bit towards the front here with a bottom lift. So shoulder blades back and down, all that work you've just done. Okay, you've got the cervical spine, these guys at the top. All right, these 7 cervical spine are also nice and long. You're going to breathe in, exhale, tummy in, pelvic floor slightly engaged, and we're going to lift the bottom off the mat and roll those shoulders back as much as you can. That is what I'm interested. Across the chest, the shoulders rolling back, looking slightly up. Don't look towards your belly button and knees. Remember the neck is part of the spine, and then float back down with grace. Don't lose that shoulder opening. Next long, breathing in, exhale and lift. It's like you've got helium balloons, just they happen to be attached around that hip area, not necessarily around the waist, but on either hip bone, and they're just simply floating up as high as they can through that midsection. Now that might be for some people just 1 or 2 centimeters, and that is fine. You might find that all you can manage is a little bit of a lift, but just keep on thinking that your shoulder blades are back, the chest is open, and you're trying to think about that neck staying in alignment. We've got 1 more. Breath in, exhale, lift. Okay. And pause there. Now, folks, I'm going to give you a couple of options here for a bit of a piriformis stretch. For those of you who are finding that quite nice and easy, that's fairly simple for you, and you have good movement through the range of your hip, then you are probably going to find it fairly easy to cross. Maybe you might need to move that leg away, but effectively to cross your right leg over your left knee. Okay, so I've just crossed it over there at the ankle. Don't panic though. If that's just a no-go, I'm going to show you and then I'll show you an option. If you are finding that this is okay for you, then you can go ahead and just do the piece we've just worked on with that leg crossed over. If that is not for you, please go ahead and just take yourself down and cross your leg over in the lying down position. Okay, and from there, you're just going to lift and lower your bottom. Okay. All righty, so we're just going to choose your option here and we're going to do a couple on each side. So if you are with your right leg or your left leg crossed over and you're in your upright position, go ahead and lift and lower. If you've done a few while I've just been demonstrating, then you're more than welcome to cross onto the other side. Okay. We're just getting a little bit more of a stretch through that upper leg, the one that's bent and up. It's just having a little bit of a dynamic moving stretch. Again, if you're on the mat, you're going to switch over for me for these last couple. Okay. If you're lying down, then or up, this is our last one here. And for everybody, just bring yourself back up into sitting and we're going to roll over onto our tummies. Okay, so rolling over onto our tummies for our last bit of prone work. We're going to have our fingertips, before I lose you onto the mat, fingertips are touching, okay, so they're not on top of each other as we sometimes have. They're going to be just touching because we need to be able to move one independently of the other, okay, so they're just under the forehead, like so. Okay, elbows are wide, and again, remember these shoulder guides. As you get down onto the mat, don't forget that you're not, you know, it'll be slightly less important, and slightly more awkward, but shoulders trying to stay away from the earlobes as kind of as much as you can. Legs are wide, please, for me, ladies at home or recording, wherever you are. You're going to have those legs out wide towards the corners of the mat, just to give us a little bit more room at the back of the pelvis, just like we did at the beginning with our plie squats. Again, let's be a bit forgiving this week. Legs are nice and wide. Okay. I'm going to just get you to breathe in and just bring in that belly button again. Just talk to yourself about the setting up and the stacking again, even on your tummy, of the rib cage, the pelvis. Have a little play around. Are you really sticking that tailbone out? Can you maybe bring the pelvis slightly in, the belly button to spine? When I say pelvis in, I mean as in for you, you know, as in what feels more comfortable for you, that with the belly in control, belly button in, rib cage is not flaring. You're imagining it almost just pulling down, again, like hula hoops. Breathe in for me. Now, as you exhale, I just want you to lift your lift your forehead off your hands. And the big visual for me here is that as you lift this forehead, it stays directly in parallel with those hands. You're not going to be lifting so that you can show your forehead to the front of the mat. You're not lifting so you can see the front of the mat. You are simply lifting the forehead off the hands and back down. And guess what? That is because I want, of course, your skull to be hanging a little bit down off the cervical spine, but the cervical spine are going to remain perfectly stacked, just like those hula hoops, one on top of the other, not by compressing and compacting at the back of the neck. All right, so just one or two more. Okay, and then pausing here. All righty, pause with the head down. So if that is enough for you today, then please continue there with your hands down. If you feel like you can go up a level, you're going to just take one set of fingertips, glue them to your forehead, the other stays on the mat, and as you lift, the fingertips stay attached to your forehead, so the elbow comes off as well, a little bit more weight, slightly heavier lever for the back to lift, and then lower back down. Switch sides, breathe in, the other set of fingertips or fingernails attached to the forehead as you lift and lower. Now, again, we're thinking of staying long in that torso. The belly is in, controlling the whole of that lovely corset around your middle. But of course, this is a bit of weight bearing, so this is a little bit of strength work for the lower back. But we're trying to stay, the visual is staying long and open. If you think now that you can actually add on, as you lift this next time with your hand on your forehead, I want you to pause in elevation and just reach that same arm forwards towards the front of you, like your single Superman position, reaching that arm forwards. We come back, then bringing it to your forehead, glue it back on and down towards the floor. Okay, other hand still now attached to the forehead. You lift, forehead float, pause and hold, reach the single arm forward, stretch that arm forwards, then bring it back to your forehead and down. Okay. And down. And we're going to do one more time. Reaching that arm forwards and bring it back down. Well done. And switcheroo. Okay, we're going to swivel these elbows now in and underneath the shoulders directly. So you come into a slight back lift. Okay, so a little bit of back extension. We are still with our legs wide. Please remember the legs are wide. Now, don't panic. Okay, we are still in the realms of a very supported back extension here. I'm not going to ask you to get any higher than this, because what I want you to do is visualize now that your elbows are pressing into the mat, maybe the palms slightly too, and almost like you're going to dig them in and pull yourself forward slightly, a millimeter or two forwards. You may feel a bit of a drag at the front of the thighs there, maybe at the front of the pelvis. That is good, okay? That is that sense of maybe just slightly lengthening the spine, okay? And then relax, breathing in. Take a big breath in, and exhale, dig in those elbows, and almost like you're pulling yourself in. If you could see this to its end, you literally would pull yourself forwards and drag your legs forwards, okay? But we're not going to actually move. You're just pulling forwards and then relax. One more time. Still looking down at your thumbs, please. Breathing in, exhale, pulling forwards. On the next pull forwards, I want you to pause. So breathing in, exhale, pull forwards, pausing there. Shoulder blades are down, neck is feeling like it's pulling along. I want you to now lift your left foot off the mat, or left leg, I should say. Knee is straight. There should be very little energy in the lower back here because you're pulling forwards. And imagine that leg is pulling long. I'm not looking for a high lift. I'm interested in pulling along with the leg. Place it back down, relax the elbows in the back, breathing in. Big breath in, exhale, pull forwards. Once you've got the pull forward, then lift the leg. Please try not to do both at the same time, okay? Innovate the space in the spine, the length around the hip and the glute, and then lift the leg. Breathing in. One more time on the side. Exhale as you pull forwards with the body and leg, then pulling in the opposite way. You're getting that nice stretch from the crown towards the heel via the back and the lower back, and also your glutes and the hammies. Breathe in, exhale, stretch and reach. Kind of like you're doing a full mat stretch, but the other side, other way around. Breathing in, exhale, reach and stretch, and pause there. Okay. Final little piece for us here, please. I just want you to roll onto your side. You're going to just pop the elbows still under the shoulder. Okay, for our final little bit of release to the hips, okay? You're on this position, in this position, if you can, if it is really uncomfortable for you, go ahead and pop yourself down slightly lower. If you can, hold yourself here, lift the rib cage slightly and pop both legs towards the front edge of the mat. Okay, top arm is our little kickstand, the front of you. We're going to slightly flex the foot, and I'd like you to draw your foot forwards to me with a straight leg kick forwards, and then we're going to send that leg behind us in point. Point the leg to the back, forwards with a kick forward, showing the sole of your foot, and then kicking back. Now, we are now trying to isolate the lower body. So I really don't want you to do the twist with the upper body and shoulders. You're trying to stay as still as you can, stack through the pelvis. You're as still as you can, stack through the shoulders. You're letting this lovely leg have its moment. Okay, here, and forwards and backwards. Pausing this time with the leg behind you. Please take your top arm and reach it to the front corner of the mat in the opposite direction of that back leg, okay? And pause and reach, and reach, and reach, and pause here. We're now going to sweep the leg forwards, and we're sweeping the leg behind us, okay? So as the leg goes forwards, the arm goes back. Let's just keep the torso still to begin with if you can. Okay. Well done. If you add in that foot movement as well, that's great. You can have the foot in flexion forwards and then plantar flexion to point behind, dorsiflexion front. And we've got one more. And pause here. Bring yourself back to center. Bring your knees in. Swivel around. Just a release on that hip on this side. So pop in your shoulder underneath, so your elbow underneath your shoulder. A lift of the rib cage, okay, so you're not dumping down and hanging off this poor old shoulder joint here. It's not a huge joint. It's a busy joint, but not a huge one. So just give it some space. Take the legs to the front just to give you that slight angle and stability. Pop the kickstand hand in front, lift the leg and drawing it forwards, dorsiflexion, show me the soles, and point to the back. This is our hip flexor stretch through the quads. Breathing in, exhale, and back. Forward to get a bit more hamstring stretch, but it's the quad stretch as we reach that leg and point towards the back corner I'm interested in. The only way we anchor this is by not twisting with it. So you keep the hips stacked, you keep the shoulders stacked. Core control. We've really fired it up today, so we know where the core is. We've got 3 more. And 2. After this last one, we're pausing with the foot to the back, so you get that extra bang for your butt from this lovely hip flexor stretch. Take the arm to the front corner of the mat and reach those guys away from it. This lovely side of the body stretch. Okay, we are now going to make it a little bit more dynamic. So as you bring your foot forward, send the hand behind you and the arm counterbalances behind. If you want to go into dorsiflexion, please do. And then we sweep and change, sweep and change, and sweep. Find that movement and flow, but the control through the core, the nice strong shoulders, the pelvis is nice and controlled. Flexion forwards for the sole of the foot, plantar flexion behind. Last 2 and final 1. Bring those legs in parallel. Well done. Pop the hand down, tuck your knees in towards your chest. Pop both hands onto the mat by your side and swivel the knees underneath you. Okay, take the knees nice and wide. The feet are behind you. We're going to push back into a child's pose, but the knees are wide. Again, let's be forgiving this morning. Okay, we're going to have a bit of a stretch there with the hands reaching out towards you. If you don't find this particular pose comfortable, you're more than welcome to just pause and hang out in a cat stretch for a moment. Okay, and a bit of a cow stretch. So when you're ready, folks, take a lovely couple of breaths. And just walk the hands back towards your knees, and then we're all going to join into the 4-point kneeling. Okay, so hands are under your shoulders, knees are under your toes. Folks, we're going to walk our hands back towards our knees and just tilt over or push over into a small ball position if you can. If that's really not for you, for your feet or knees or ankle joints, then just a small crouch is fine. But I do want to make sure it's a controlled roll up, okay? So if we can all just slowly tuck the chin into the chest, bring that belly button to spine, okay? Slowly let the heels release down towards the mat, okay? The knees are soft, so we should still be nice and stable, but you know you need to transfer your weight into the feet here. Tummy is in. Give that lower back a bit of help. If you want to use your hands to walk up your legs, you can. Otherwise, we're going to start to think of that rebuild of the spine. Allow one vertebrae just to nuzzle itself on top of the lower one, perfectly above the one below, up to the very top of the cervical spine, below the skull. Take yourself to the middle of your mats. Okay, folks, we're going to just have a nice moving finish. I want you to soften your knees and pop your hands just down towards the front of you. Okay, we're going to just breathe in and grow towards the ceiling. Stretch super tall. Breathe in and exhale, soften the knees and hang down towards the floor. Breathe in and grow. Whatever breath comes naturally, but just try and get the movement through the knees, the ankles, the hips, and the back. If you want to have a little bit of back extension as you head towards the top, then lift your gaze towards the ceiling and allow that back to just head slightly towards the wall or room behind you if you feel so. If it kind of works for you, then do it. Pause in this next time with your hands towards the ceiling, bring them down by your sides. Put your hands down by your sides. I'd like you to just take a couple of breaths in. If you want to close your eyes, do. If it makes you feel dizzy, then don't. Just 2 more breaths in. Consciously just run over. I knew I would. There's so much I want to fit in. 1 more time. Breath in. Exhale. And with that, for today, tick in the box, we are done. Okay, folks, really loads of listening. I know loads of listening, but loads of dialing in, hopefully, to all those little muscles. And I hope it did make some sense and was kind of, good for you. So thank you and well done. And go ahead and go and enjoy the rest of your days. And I will see you very soon. Okay, bye-bye for now. Bye.